Back to the BVTV Gaming channel. We are here with another AAA Lucha Libre podcast review of the 613 episode. Before we begin, I do want to just address some updates to the channel from both TikTok and YouTube. My goal is to every Sunday push out a AAA review for their weekly episodes. The World Cup is going on, so I do want to start doing the FIFA World Cup thing for gaming. I want to stream it on TikTok and then post it on YouTube. Same thing for UFC 6 that's going to be releasing. I have a new way I want to do that. And if we have some time, Marvel Rivals, but obviously the wrestling isn't going anywhere because that's my main squeeze, if you will. So now that I got that out the way, let's review AAA Lucha Libre episode 613-26. To put the opening match politely, this was a one-sided beatdown. Galerno destroyed Gallo and Golden Jacket. It was it was rough. Those guys took an ass whooping. They didn't last very long, put it that way. And Galerno dominated, which then prompted a very brief backstage segment to happen, where Omos was then demanding 3 people. So I read online that he just came back from an injury, kind of. So, but he's been doing like the side interference stuff from El Hijo del Vikingo, but now he's actually cleared to wrestle. So I guess that was a way of kind of reintegrating him as a threat in AAA, which we'll see that later on when we review. The overall squash match between Galerno versus the Gallo and Golden Jacket was a 2-star match, at least for me out of 5. I'd rate it. It was a very simple squash match, you know. However, what happened after the backstage segment and match number 1 was what I thought was match of the night. Los Vipers versus El Fiscal, Octogon Jr., and Parka. Now, here's where I'm going to give commentary their props, because I had no idea I don't know who most of these people are. I'm brand new to AAA. And so to just understand that El Fiscal is apparently, allegedly, the real son of Mismo, and now we have the wannabe Mismo Jr., who actually isn't the real son of Mismo. That to me was very interesting, because I was like, wait, well, hold on, what do you mean? So he's like an imposter? Like, I was very intrigued to see where the story, you know, if they were going to give me any more than that. But and of course, Octogon Jr. Parka was there, but just knowing that was kind of the basis for the match for me, I thought was really, really cool. I really did enjoy just the storytelling aspect of it. And then we went on to the match, which the match was freaking awesome. I will say the MVP of that match was El Fiscal, who just, for a big guy, blew me away with how athletic he was. The dude just flying all over the place and still just being very physically dominant in the match. And then when it got to... I loved the work of Mismo Negro Jr. because he did the heel thing. He played possum, and then when it... Not possum, but he played kind of coward, avoiding an interaction, with El Fiscal. And when it finally got to that point, those two brawled all the way to the back, leaving Octogon and Parka to deal with the rest of Los Vipers, which then led to a wild... a finish as freaking Octogon Jr. sat there and did a moonsault fallaway slam off the top rope to win the match for the team. And I'm really curious to see what's that next step for El Fiscal and Mismo Jr. because I want more of that. It was to me, this should have been the main event, but I get also why it wasn't. This was a 4-star match. This is the highest rated match I'm going to give out of all of them today. 4 out of 5. I really, really enjoyed this. If there was a bit more story and emotion, maybe I would have given it a higher rating, but I thought that was a very solid rating for that match. We then went on to squash match number 2, which was Chris Carter, Kingu, and Damio. If I say that right, I apologize. Versus Omos. It was a 1-on-3 handicap match to where Omos just dominated. Literally dominated, but again, commentary made this feel a little bit more important than the first squash match we had to kick off the night, because it was like, well, Omos, it seemed like they were trying to gear it to where, like, Omos is trying to prove that he is the most dominant giant in AAA, and which is why he tried to one-up Galerno, who only did a 1-on-2, so he said, "Oh, I'll do a 1-on-3." So that's the small chunk of story I got from this. The three-person throne when Omos sat on all three of them, I thought was hysterical. So for the added addition of the story, I did give this a 2.5 out of 5. Because of the added story. So again, squash matches for me are always gonna. The highest I'll ever give it is like a 2.5, because it's a squash match. You know. Then we went to the main event. Well, to me, the main event was actually pretty solid. The AAA Mixed Tag Team Championships were on the line. The current champions, Mr. Iguana and Lola Vice, took on Joaquin Wilde and his new, I guess, heelish gimmick with the spray can, and La Hiedra. And if I say it wrong, I apologize. What I did like is that before the match actually began, one of my biggest gripes with the show was, where was your AAA Mega Champion, who I haven't seen for 3 episodes now? He wasn't on your big event, Noche de Escuadrones week 1 or 2, and he wasn't on this week's event. And I was like, okay, well, where is he? And then they announced that he's going to be back, and then they also announced, I had another gripe here. I was like, well, wait a minute. Where's El Grande Americano? Please don't tell me you're putting him on the shelf after this monumental mask versus match of the year candidate. And he's just not going to be appearing. And they announced that he'll be back as well, and that Rey Mysterio will have another announcement to make next week. So, like, okay, they've already kind of built for the show for next week, and I'm excited to see what they kind of have going forward. However, going back to the main event, what I liked about the storytelling, again, commentary gets a big check mark for this one as well, is that I did not know that Mr. Iguana and La Hiedra were the former AAA Mixed Tag Team Champions. And I guess Hiedra kind of has like a broken heart, or it's kind of what they were gearing towards. And kind of feel some type of way, because kind of Lola Vice and Mr. Iguana are the champs, and, you know, they're doing their thing. Really, really liked that. However, a really great match, though. I really liked the main event. It was solid. Everyone got their stuff, and I feel like everyone had a moment to shine, and, you know, they had good momentum going. And for Joaquin Wilde, it's crazy to think that Joaquin Wilde can be in a main event at AAA, but can barely touch the pre-show for you know, a WWE event, which I thought was kind of hysterical. However, I think what the best part about this was the aftermath, because La Hiedra had confronted Mr. Iguana and Lola Vice, and she socked the holy hell out of Mr. Iguana, knocked him the hell out with a forearm, and then freaking they start catfighting, Lola Vice and La Hiedra. Then Joaquin Wilde tried to break it up, and he got knocked out by Lola Vice, and then Los Toxicas, the rest of them came out to jump Lola Vice, and then that prompted Bailey and La Catalina to come out to help out, even the odds, and sent La Toxica kind of going to the back. Which, overall, great night. I can see why this was the main event, just all different aspects of the story coming together. It seems like after the win that Catalina had over Flamer, that's what they're kind of gearing towards, is La Catalina Flamer for the women's title down the line. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to really say in regards to the main event, but I feel like that really kind of sums it up. Like I said, I think the major points for me was we didn't get Dirty Dom, we didn't get El Grande, and so those are like the only 2. We didn't even get anything now, I think, from the new Latin American champion, El Hijo del Vikingo, this week. So I was like, okay, we didn't get anything for that. And yeah, I think some of the star power wasn't there this week, and that's fine. I mean, it was still a solid show. If I had to give this a rating from 0 to 5, I thought this was a solid show. It was a 3 out of 5 for me. Nothing really too much out except for Los Vipers versus El Fiscal, Octogon Jr, and La Parka. It was definitely the highlight for me of the night. But yeah, I'd like to know your guys' opinion, so please do comment below what you guys thought of the show and things that I may have missed that I just wasn't privy to from a storytelling aspect, or from the previous shows before Noche de los Grandes. And so with that being said, everyone, please do leave a like, hit the comment button, hit the follow button. We'll see y'all next time, next Saturday, next Sunday.